Hey gang, welcome back to 31 Days of Halloween and the B-sides of horror films. Yep, so far we've had a couple doozies. Today we're going to do 1988's Waxwork, starring Zach Galligan from Gremlins and Gremlins 2, and that's about all I can come up with. He did fine in those two movies, and that's about it, really. I have actually met him. I met him at, let's see, where did I meet him at? Days of the Dead in Atlanta, when I was going heavy into these horror conventions back in the day before everything exploded and everybody thinks they're, worth 60, 80, $100 for their signatures and $20 more for their picture, and they turn their nose up, really. I used to love going to those things. Went to Horror Hound this past month. Did have a decent time there. I did get to meet Barbara Steele, so that was a bucket lister. But anyway, we're here to talk about Waxwork. Waxwork is actually, which I can say this about a lot of these. Chopping Mall was one that was different, but is one that I really, really dig. It's really different, and you'll see this, like, if you've watched this channel for any amount of time. I've mentioned it a few times. Any of those like Twilight Zone type films, like Seconds, which I often reference. Thank you, Michael. Those kind of films that could have been an episode of Twilight Zone are just magnificent, and this definitely could have been a an episode. Had they shortened it down a little bit and just done a couple of the dioramas, it would have been such a great episode of Twilight Zone. And it just happens to be, my second favorite TV show, and third favorite TV show of all time. But we'll talk about that kind of stuff later. So Waxwork, like I said, Zach Galligan. This group of college kids are asked, to come to the opening of this wax museum ran by, what is his name? The bad guy from Time Bandits. You'll probably know it. I can't think of it right now off the top of my head. Anyway, he has somehow made a pact with the devil to live forever if people become part of the dioramas, or it's hard to explain and just explain it without watching it in all its goofiness. Some people, I've heard in reviews and read reviews and things, because I like to hear what people have to say about films that I enjoy, and a lot of times that's how you can find other YouTube channels that you have a similar taste in. But anyway, a lot of times I've heard this referred to as a comedy, and it's goofy. It's got some goofy shit in it, but a actual full blown like horror comedy, no. To me it's not. To me it's just a movie that's trying to take itself way too serious, and it is forever a B title. So, but anyway, they go to this thing, and the whole key is they have these dioramas. Like, if you've ever been to a wax museum, which I highly recommend because I've been to quite a few of them actually, and a lot of them have like it's a nice sized horror section where they have like the Xenomorph. They usually have Bela Lugosi and Boris Karloff in either Frankenstein or the Mummy or both. So they really are interesting. And they do have a diorama scene. This one, the dioramas are roped off. And if you cross that rope, you actually become, or actually you go back to when that diorama would have been. Even though they are fictional dioramas in this particular wax museum, like my personal favorite is the werewolf. Guy crosses over into the diorama and goes into the woods with a shack, and is basically in a situation where a guy is a werewolf, and it's John Rhys Davies, which is kind of cool to have him in there. Now, it's literally one of the goofiest looking werewolves I've ever seen in my life. It is like I don't know. It's hard to, I mean, you'll just have to watch it to see the werewolf. I mean, he's got really big ears, and he's more of a giant Wile E. Coyote looking thing. Real furry, ferocious. I mean, it is, like, as far as intimidating, it's there. But when you die in the diorama, you become part of it, so he becomes the victim in the werewolf. And it goes on. There's a vampire one. There's a mummy one that's really cool, actually. And, so on and so forth. But there are some really, really good ones once you get in. We find out that, I'm forgetting names left and right. Billy from Gremlins, Zach Galligan. His character is kind of a rich, pretentious bitch, really, in the film, and come to find out his family's got some stuff to do with it, and with the occult, and their whole lot in life was to stop this from happening, and blah blah blah. You'll just have to watch that. The acting, I think, is better than average for a B film. The idea of the film, like I said, the Twilight Zone-ish, or nowadays, no, we'll just stick with Twilight Zone-ish. It's the plot of the story is very good. Is it executed greatly? Part. Especially the diorama parts. They are executed really good. But then again, you got to understand, you got to get to the diorama parts. So you got to take the bad with the good. And this one's a good one. I really enjoy it. I remember I've watched this one within the last couple years. And when I watched it again, it was still really fresh in my mind. Because unlike Waxwork 2, which there's a sequel, and I remember, at least I think, that Galligan is in the sequel. He reprises his role. But literally, anything past that I don't remember. I have not seen that in so damn long, it's not even funny. I mean, it's really, I don't remember it whatsoever. But this one I have fond memories of. I've watched it. Actually, I've watched it quite a few times. Within the last couple of years, I had watched it. When I put it back on, I was like kind of into it again because I knew things that were getting ready to happen. I was kind of anticipate or waiting for The Mummy and the Werewolf. They're my two favorites, and going on with that. So I do. This is one of them, unlike yesterday, that I can very much recommend to new horror hounds, or just your everyday popcorn viewer. If you're just wanting a entertaining, kind of really interesting plot, then check out Waxwork. So let me know what you guys think of it. I don't have my notebook in front of me today, so I don't know what tomorrow's film is. So you just have to wait. Till next time, keep it spooky, and later.